Greetings traders, this is Houston Trong from thetradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for December the 2nd to the 5th, 2019. And so we are now into the final trading month of the year. November is in the books, and November was a pretty good month for investors and traders who were on the long side. Not so much if you're trying to call a top and trying to get short. It was a tough month if you were one of those folks, but for most average investors and traders who had a long bias, the month of November was a good one. Now, December invokes some fears for some traders because of last year's December dump. Do we get the same thing this year? We're going to have to wait and see, but I'm going to give you a bit of insights in terms of my perspectives on how this December is a bit different than last December. So that's a bit of a sneak peek there. As well, there isn't a lot of year left. So in order for the bears to muster up something big, it has to happen in the first, few weeks of the first couple weeks of the month. Again, last year was quite unusual in that we had selling all the way to Christmas, and the Santa Claus rally came a little bit late, but it did still come, right? And by the time the new year hit, it was a full-on Santa Claus rally. So let's look at the charts in a few moments here and get our bearings to see what things look like going into the month of December. Now, as far as for the coming week, the econ calendar is pretty average. You have the jobless claims number on Thursday morning. There is the employment number on Friday morning, so both things that usually warrant some paying attention to. And in terms of earnings, it is definitely quieter now. The majority of large companies have reported, but if you're a tech person, you want to keep your eyes on some tech names. CRM, Workday, ZS, all report on Tuesday, and we have Okta, another high flyer, OKTA, reporting on Thursday. So just watch out for again that earnings risk. So let's get into the charts now, and let's talk about the week that was, the week coming up, and of course the month coming up, what to perhaps expect from there. So this week we're going to begin with the SPY chart, because here's an interesting factoid. I don't know if you know this or not, but the SPY now, and you can just see by I'll just zoom into the daily chart for a second, it has now gone 36 consecutive days where it has closed above the 10 period moving average. Now on my chart I don't have the 10 period, I have the blue line here, that's the 8 period, but we've had 36 consecutive sessions now where the SPY has closed above that 10-day simple moving average. And in fact, this has actually only happened once since the inception of the SPY product, the SPY product. So you have to go all the way back since its inception, and has never had that kind of run before, except for once. And you know what that time was? Surprisingly, it was actually this year in February 2019. So if we zoom back here really quickly and pick our month of Feb, and we'll zoom in now to that sequence. So from up to February there, you can see that run from the beginning of the year. Remember, I just alluded to it. We had that massive Santa Claus rally that started a bit late. It actually started literally, usually you get that Santa Claus rally before Christmas. Last year, late last year in December, it started, right after Christmas. Remember, markets bottomed basically on Boxing Day last year. So here's the 24th, here's the 26th. This is your Canada Boxing Day, 26th, and it was straight shot from here all the way up to February 2019. We had that huge run up, again, more than 36 days above that 10 period moving average. So this is indicative of the year that we've been in. We've had a number of pullbacks along the way. This pullback back in May was close to 10%. A small pullback here in July, even a smaller pullback here in September into October. And since then, right, you can just see we bottomed out here at the beginning of October. Boom, straight shot to where we are now, grinding higher. And if you've been watching the videos, you know that I've alluded to or pointed out that we were staying above that 8 period moving average. So even more aggressive than the 10 period is the 8 period, because that means the trend is even stronger, because it's not even closing below that closing and breaking below that 8 period. Again, the 8 period on my charts is that blue line, and this is the EMEA. I'm talking specifically about the EMEA, and I've been saying, since that October bottoming process, when we popped up, it tested, it came back up, pulled back, And since then, it's just doing this, moving average walk. So moving average traders, they were looking for these moving averages to act as support, and it has been doing that since this touch back here. That wasn't quite a touch, but it did touch the 5 EMEA. That was back on October the 18th. But since then, we haven't had, anything that continues to touch that and break away from it. So the last point here, we had talked about last week. This was the first time where price had actually closed below that 8 period right there. That was on the 21st of November. The question, going into it was, could they actually close or break below this low? Had this bar here, this is the last Friday, broken below this SPY low here, this would have triggered a bunch of folks, because these folks are riding this moving average and they're looking simply for a close, a bar of close here, and a break below, and that would have been a nice inside bar breakdown. But no point debating, ifs or what ifs, because the buyer stepped up. Even though it didn't look like a strong day here last Friday, they did break above that bar's high. That had been done, it had been pierced already, and I talked about that last week. It would not take much, as I mentioned last week, on a number of indices for price to now go back up and take to new time highs. Look what happened on Monday. Gaps up, and now we're at these all-time highs, although we did not close at all-time highs because it was a fairly shortened week, right? Because of the US Thanksgiving and a light trading session on Friday, only a half day. We only got basically 3.5 sessions in on the past week. So with that being said, let's take a step back now and let's take a deeper dive at the SPY chart. So what do we know about SPY now going into December, right? So November's in the books. How do we end? Outside and up on the monthly. Momentum move. Now waiting to see if they can take out this low. If this gets taken out, if somehow the sellers can step up in the month of December and push it all the way through from here, right? Because it's opening up somewhere in here on Monday. You don't know where exactly. It could be a gap up, could be a gap down, but it's going to be somewhere in here. If they can somehow break below this low, then that gets very, very bearish. Because then it's going to break, it could possibly come back into the range again, and at least this would be a pivot to go after. Okay, so that'd be the 285.16 area. Okay, so the 285.16 area is going back, give you some reference on the daily chart. 285.16 is way down here. Way down here. 285.16, wow, right? You got to go all the way down here. It's even further down here in this area here. So this is going to be a test, a break below the 200-day. Okay, so that's the kind of move that the sellers have to make, right? With only 1 month left for it to happen this year. So is that possible? Yeah, anything's possible. Probable? I'm not putting that on the high probability scenario list, but that's what would be required for that to happen, right? For that thing to go all the way down here, 285. Sorry, down here. What did I say here? Where was I? To break below the low there. 304.74. Sorry, what was I alluding to? 304.74. That puts us into here. So that you have to break below this area here, right? That, and then you can possibly come down to here, 284.82. That puts us way back down to here, right? So back down here. So not sure where I got my numbers from earlier, but anyways, let's continue. You get the point. Outside up on the monthly, on the weekly. Okay, a bit of a smaller bar now on the weekly chart. So how big reversals happen is we begin to take out higher time frames. As I mentioned already, the monthly time frame, if it reverses somehow, that would be very significant. How that begins to happen is if you can break the weekly low, right? So all reversals begin at lower time frames, and so what you're looking for is sort of a domino effect from the lowest time frames to the highest time frames. So basically, if the sellers really are able to take control, they're going to be able to break the weekly low before they can break a monthly low. That's just by definition how price action has to work because of the fractal nature of price. So it has to break below that low in order to put the monthly lows in jeopardy. Okay, so watch that low there, 311.98, this past week's lows down here. If somehow price can come back into here now, this would mean, right, back on the daily chart here, this would mean that now they've been able to pierce through that 8 period, somehow have a close below there or break below there, then that breaks below the weekly low. And then potentially now, everyone's eyeballing this level here. Okay, 310 area, which is the 20 period moving average, because that's what a lot of traders are really looking for to see if this market has any umph in it. They want to see if the buyers step up and buy that pull back to this level. It would not be surprising for markets to come test that area, but it's, you know, that we haven't seen that selling pressure yet. So, but if it does, that would be an area I'd be watching very carefully to see how price reacts to that area. Okay, so that's the daily chart. Now the 2-day chart, again, quite a light week, so not a lot of data to talk about, so not a lot of data points. Basically, we end with an inside bar on the 2-day chart, right? So short and weak, so basically inside bar. This coming week, you want to see how price breaks out of this consolidation period. Is it, does it break up or break down, or do some variation of that? Either goes up and then comes back in, or down, comes back up again. So something, the understanding here would be something like an inside bar reversal to the upside, back down, or inside bar down, and then back to the upside again. Okay. Now let's talk about VIX, because that's going to be the mirror image. So VIX ends the month of November going to basically yearly lows. This has not been this low for a long, long time. And so this sets up for potentially, we're in a very, the volatility has been crushed, right? And there's not, without question, you have to, zoom out here. You haven't seen volatility this low. I'll bring up the actual VIX contract. Since the circa, we have to go back here, way back to the 2017 days. Here you had some lows in August 2018 that are lower than that. But certainly, this is the low of this is like close to your lows of the year. We have not had volatility this low in some time. People are worried that you're going to see some sort of VIX explosion, where a lot of people get complacent, and then all of a sudden you see price just ripping back through the range again. And that's something that is certainly possible, right? So that's something you want to be watching out for, is some sort of huge reversal on the VIX, right? So what does a huge reversal look like? What huge reversals typically look like is that they involve outside bars on either on some time frame, right? That's when you know that people are getting trapped. And so that's what you're looking for. You're looking for some sort of sequence where people are getting trapped offside. Some traders are thinking the trend's going to continue, aka right to the downside, but all of a sudden the price flips and traps them. So here's a good occasion of when this happened back in October 2018 on the monthly chart. So this is significant because a lot of people got caught offside here. Here, price is coming back, coming back through the range again, and they're going for that low there, right? So the low was 25.59, the low here 25.85. So did not quite get there. People thought it was going to test that pivot low. So people were shorting, bar for bar down into these lows here. Then all of a sudden, you get a bar that goes from one end to the other end. Outside bar, outside inside, and you know how that plays out, right? So, and of course, this is the month of December from last year, the one when price really dumped. So this is what you want to be looking out for as a possibility. Now, this is a completely different setup this year. Is it not? Remember, the VIX already started elevating back in October of last year. October this year, there's no elevation of VIX at all, right? So this year is markedly different. Yes, we had the majority of the selling happen last year in December, but VIX was already on its way up at that time. It did not do a reversal in December, right? It actually did the reversal here in October, correct? So look, it goes down and it goes up, outside bar up, inside bar in December. You get that VIX explosion to the upside where it was up 36% roughly, right? Even October is already up 40%. So this was your warning shot across the bow, even on the monthly chart. You can get on the weekly chart here and get a lot more specific about things. As example here, let's just click on that. So this is the sequence here, all right? There, okay? So this is the outside bar sequence I'm talking about, where you're talking about looking for reversals. The reason why outside bars are significant is because if you understand what an outside bar is, and I think you do because you've been watching the videos, what it's happening psychologically is that people are getting taken and shaken off sides, right? So anyone who's getting short in this trade will immediately get stopped out, and they will get burnt, right? So they will be burnt, and they will be, if price begins to go the other way, they will now be in the state of mind where they have to chase price if they want to get in on the other side of the trade. Oftentimes, people who get in at these levels down here, they're chasing the downside move. Now, if you're selling down here and you think it's going to break down, and you're trying to play that breakdown, you get a bit of a breakdown, then all of a sudden you get smashed the other way. What's your mindset, right? So you're already in that FOMO mindset. Now, obviously, price racing against you. So either you're either caught in the trade, or you got stopped out, and now you're wondering what you should do. Well, price is now going the other way. You already have a FOMO mindset going this way if you're one of these traders who buys or sells down here. So now you get chase price again, and it takes it back to the other side of the range. That's the mentality of outside bars that go momentum up like that. So that's what you want to be looking for this year. If somehow price can do this outside bar action, then that becomes significant, because then you know people are getting trapped, they're getting emotional, and then that can spring, it basically springs a trap, and that can propel price in the opposite direction of that initial trade, and then it will come back through the range. So look for something like that, right? You see maybe a gap down again on Monday, or for some price where it breaks down, it comes back up to the range again, creating the outside bar. If you get an outside bar, then that's what would definitely be something you wanted to pay attention to. All right. So in terms of VIX, that's the story for the monthly and the weekly chart. Down month, down week. November ends down 16% on the VIX. So volatility basically, decaying or melting away. So on the 4-hour chart on the VIX, just watch out here, see how it plays out. Inside up on the 4-hour chart. So this is your 29th, and this is your ladder, the second half, which is basically closed. So obviously it's going to be an inside bar there. You just want to see how this resolves, because if it goes inside bar down on Monday, it's going back to the range and going back to lows. It could happen very quickly, right? They could just go right back to lows again, and that would be a resolution of that pattern. Inside bar up, as soon as it breaks below here or there, they're coming after that pivot there, gap filling that right away, and then anyone who got long in the sequence will get stopped out. It'll look just that easy. All right, so we move on to Qs. Today we should go a lot faster, because not a lot of data points, as I said already, this week because of the holiday shortened week. Qs a lot like the SPY. I'm going to delete some of these lines here now because they're no longer meaningful, because they're way back in time. Outside up, okay, that's how it ends the November. So outside up condition. On the weekly chart, we had a green week. Pretty good week for these Qs, up 1.6%. Not bad for a short holiday week. And just like the SPY, you want to watch that low. Does that 202.67 area get tested? And on that, on the Qs chart here, right here, what's going to happen, right? So here, last week, went inside, outside, up, right? So inside bar reversal, back to the upside again. As I mentioned, once you break above here, they're going to put that sequence in play, right? And they basically stopped all these guys out who got short in the sequence trying to call a top, right? You try to call a top up here because it goes outside bar and up, works for like 2 days, and then here, this is a watch out, and then the gap up, and it's you need to cover right away, because they will do that. This was a big day on Monday, 1.18%, and then we end the week with a inside bar on the Friday. So tight trading action. Now you want to see how it breaks out of that inside bar. Okay, but the 8-period moving average still holding. Okay, so still holding on that Qs. Okay, let's take a look at the Russell now. So Russell finally getting going, had a good month, but still don't forget the bigger picture. Russell is still inside year. Okay, so you're still up 20%, close to 21% for the year. Nothing to cry about for the Russell, but you're not hitting all-time highs like you did with the rest of the indices. So put that into context. So can you expect all-time highs for Russell this year? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to break that outside-inside pattern on the yearly chart with only 1 month left, but anything's possible. But right now, all we know is this: it's a green month, up 4%. Very decent month for Russell. And what did we get finally? We finally took out that outside bar high. Okay, so it took some time. It took a bunch of chop, but it finally took out that pivot there, which is you'd expect it to take it out because that's an outside bar. Okay, so that pivot got taken out. Anyone who put their stop there got stopped out. So as a smaller broadening formation, the way it looks is something like this. Okay, so that low here is lower than that low. So that's the kind of tight sequence. If you look on the weekly chart now, that's what you're looking at. So that's that price action you're seeing here. So now if possible comes up to this range up here. Okay, so that's the chop that you're dealing with, and it's kind of tight, right? It's tight. This stuff kills people because they don't understand that you have to expect lower lows. If you're simply trying to buy support here, you'll get stopped out if you just put your stops too tight. because it will break above there. That's why support and resistance is rarely ever linear, because people know their stops there and they'll overshoot price. Okay, so week was nice because we had talked about last week inside bar, and how does it resolve? This week went inside bar up. It was actually gap up on Monday, right, like the rest of the indices, and now watching to see if this low gets tested or not, because if this low gets tested here, right, it's going to be inside bar reversal to the downside, possibly, if that happens. The month is going to be new, so this orange line is the monthly open, so this is where the month opened this sorry, is that right? Yeah, this is where the month opened this in November. So wherever price opens up on Monday, we're going to have a new monthly open, and that's what you're going to want to see. The first week is always important because that sets the tone for the rest of the month. Where does price transact in relation to those opening prices, the weekly price and that monthly price? I say it all the time, right? The issue is that if you open high and it comes down, that will act as a ceiling, sort of a glass ceiling, until they can crack above it, right? Because if you open up here somehow, right, and you create a weekly or a monthly open up here, if all of a sudden you get some news or whatever comes out, some news that causes price to come down here, the weekly and monthly chart will look red, right? That bar, it will be a red bar. And until you can crack above that level, there'll be natural sellers here, because if you're looking at weekly and monthly charts, that will naturally look red to you. It's going to create a bearish, overtone. So that's the implication there, right? So oftentimes you actually want to open up low and come up again, because then that offers actually a little more support for you versus opening up high, and then all you stand to do is lose. Depending, not to make it a judgmental call, it just depends on what side of the trade you're on. Okay, so watch for that, see what happens. So for Russell, just continue watching that. That's the big data point. Inside bar and up. Now I know what happens at what's the next bar? Do we get that inside reversal, or does it keep going? Dow now. Dow, really good month for the Dow, as in most indices, up 3.9%, and just like the SPY and the Qs, outside bar up on the Dow. Okay, for the month. Green week for the Dow. I'm gonna just change this small line here. Last week we were looking at the low for that week, and we're just simply drawing our lows higher now, because we want to see if this can turn to a major reversal. Because since the week of 21st of October, we have not had a low tested, right? This low here broke below, but the buyers quickly stepped up again. But since then, look, you have no lower lows. So this week you're looking to see simply, can sellers break through and create a lower low, or do buyers continue to be aggressively buying pullbacks? So Dow, just watch that here on the 2-day, inside bar on the 2-day chart. How does it break below that? Or does it break below that or not? Or does it break up? Watch for that. You're back at very close to all-time highs once again on the Dow. 8-period moving average on the daily chart still being honored. Don't fight that. Wait for it to break. Okay, so now TSX. Red week for the TSX. Actually, no, still green week. Just had a red Friday. Big green month. Pretty not big green, but a decent outing for TSX for the month of November. Up 3.38%. Week. Let's say basically an up week in green. Same thing with the rest of the indices. Looking to see any lows get taken out, because right now it's just trend trading. It's following that trend up, and you're looking to see if lows can get created or not. Right now, all pullbacks are being bought. So, yeah, just wait. Look, you can see the same thing with TSX here. Since this crossover here, October 30th, we had that crossover happen. We're actually right here, the 29th. Then price tested the moving averages there, and since then, you had a real straight shot there for the TSX. We never even touched the 8-period moving average. Finally did it here. We had a close below that. We had to close below the moving average, the 8-period, but right away they bought it back. See, this is outside bar down. Once this high gets taken out, that's the momentum move. It has been extinguished. And you expect these highs to get taken out, and they did that in the beginning of the week. So for TSX, just continue to watch the same thing as the rest of the indices. Just like the other indices, inside bar to end the week. Emerging markets got softer as the month continued, right? So we actually had a really good, again, had a good opening for the emerging markets, but it had a rough close to the month. So let's take a look here. So on the monthly chart, went up, but actually turned red in the month. looking a little bit now like a shooting star, right? So that's something you definitely want to be watching. Do they break through these monthly lows? That political instability in Hong Kong, of course, trade talks, that could play a role and to see whether or not this thing breaks below November's lows. That would be significant. You would definitely want to watch that. This week, it actually kind of started the ball rolling already, because we were watching last week. We drew on our lines there. We simply were waiting to see which way price is going to resolve this inside bar, up or down, right? And this week, it did it down. It broke to the downside. Okay, so it did break to the downside. You can see a few weeks ago, it already kind of created that shooting star in the weekly chart back at the beginning of November. And since then, you just had natural sellers, right? It's natural sellers coming in and selling that. So, excuse me. Yeah, EM has not been able to get any wheels underneath it to keep the momentum going. So it pulled back for the month and end up losing very little, minus 0.05 on the month. But basically flat, but it did squander a good deal of gains that it had earlier in the month, because this had a really nice run here at the beginning of November. Then they gave it all up. So back to EM, let's watch the we're going to continue to watch the weekly chart, because it's now gone inside bar and down. Continue to watch to see if it continues downwards. And the 2-day chart here, it goes inside bar and down to close the week. So continue to watch and see how that plays out. If all of a sudden it can pop back up here again, do some sort of inside bar reversal, it's possible it pops back up. Especially if the monthly open is down here, the quarterly open is still far away, so you're still going to have a green quarter. So if somehow price can pop back up here, maybe the trade talks get positive again, that can cause price to pop back up again. Okay, and then if it gets really aggressive, if the buyers can get really aggressive, is what you want to watch and see. You want to see, can they break above that this prior week's high? That's an inside bar reversal. Then that possibly puts this gap in play. Okay, so EM. Let's talk about TLT. TLT, right in the month, but definitely the buyers bought it back. So at one point, it looked like this entire momentum move was gonna dissipate. We're gonna disappear, because on TLT we did have that outside bar up and went inside, then it finally broke down. Right, it broke to the downside. It looked like it was gonna come back into here, but as soon as it broke below there, buyers stepped up and they defended. Now coming into the month of December, you want to see that high get taken out. If this high can get taken out, that's an instant bar reversal to the upside on the monthly chart. That puts these pivots back in play again. So TLT month, there you go. Weekly, you can see the power of the quarterly open. This is why we always look at the opens, because it creates a very objective way of where natural sellers and buyers are going to step in. But take a look at the orange line and this kind of black line there. That's your quarterly open. That's a place where prices has had a hard time getting above, right? So there's your orange line. Look, could not hold above it. There's your purple line. That's your quarterly open. So price still, even though you expect this pivot to get taken out here, has stayed below that quarterly and monthly open. Could not stay above there. So watching for that now. Just like this here, we'll draw our weekly line up. So on the 2-day chart, looks like this. Just like we had, just like many other indices, it was kind of a slow week, but it did do this. It did go inside bar up this week, right? Up, and then the sellers stepped in and took out that low, and then it came close to taking out that pivot low. This low here is 139.68. It got as low as 139.78, so 10 cents away from taking out that low here. So they defended the weekly open. The buyers bought it back in and kept it above the weekly open. But that pivot is still in play. So if the sellers can step back up again, that's what you want to be looking for, is that pivot to get tested. So on the 4-hour chart, you have a bit of you can see that they bought it back on Friday. So on the 29th, they bought it back. So now you gotta wait and see, can they bring it back above here? They pop back above here. It's inside bar reversal back to the upside again, and then it could bleed higher, right? Because then you're gonna have you're still gonna have the quarterly as resistance, but you're definitely gonna be above the monthly open here. There's your monthly open, because you're gonna open up somewhere in here, wherever you open up, and then if it breaks above, they're gonna be above the monthly open. Then you're gonna have that time frame in your favor. But 141.31 up here, that's still your quarterly open area, somewhere around there. So you gotta watch and see, can price break above there or not. Okay, let's take a look at GLD now, because the risk on assets or off assets kind of going nowhere. It's getting very tight in terms of the trading. We saw that with TLT already. GLD ends the month red, so down a little over 3%. So down month, right? Broke below the prior month's lows. That's significant. On the weekly chart, very tight stuff though. Look how tight the last several weeks have been. We're still trading inside the first week of November. So yes, we did break below it, but it popped back up again in the past 1, 2, 3 weeks. You're trading arguably like most of the time inside the prior months or inside this first week's range. So that's very tight trading there. And so people, are in a contractionary environment there. Okay. So on the GLD chart, look for this scenario here on the 2-day chart. Here now on the 2-day, excuse me, let's pull up, yeah, outside bar down and down again. Once this high got taken out, here on the last 2 days, it's coming back up here again. Okay, so now that pivot's potentially in play. The only issue is that this week it was below the monthly open, but with the new month coming up here, the new open, that may give us some support to begin to come back up again. The only issue is that we still have that that quarterly open still acting as resistance. So I had it turned off earlier. I just turned it on again to make it more apparent if you weren't seeing it on the charts. But that blue line right there, that's your quarterly resistance. That's why you're getting price not coming back through the range again, because you have that open acting as resistance. Okay, so this is gonna be something worth paying attention to. The daily chart on Friday, we did go outside, inside, and up. Okay, and that hit that quarterly open right there on the dot, and it bounced back. So there's a quarterly open. This is what you want to be looking for in terms of a level. Can it crack above that area or not? Right? Does it get rejected and comes back down to the range again? Because if it opens up here and it falls back down, it'll be below the weekly open, the monthly open, and that'll be the quarterly open. And you'll have full time from alignment back to the downside for GLD. Not a place you want to be hanging out in for too long if you're trying to be a bull. Okay. So for gold miners, because we did have that up move on Friday, it did look good for some gold stocks. So for gold miners, just the scenario here, GDX outside and so I'll delete this line here. Outside and up and inside quarter right now. Okay, to end the quarter, but it's still momentum condition to the upside. But for GDX, we have this situation where it did go down on the month. And on the week, it did pop down, but pop back up again on that quarterly open. So unlike GLD, that blue line, that's your quarterly open, it is actually honoring that. It's holding above that quarterly open right there. Unfortunately, in November, you had the high here, right, of the monthly open. It wasn't able to break above that after the beginning, after the start of the month. So you're kind of in a tight trading pattern now. But with the new month, this line will move down here somewhere, wherever we open. Around here somewhere, wherever we open up on Monday. So now, as I said before, you want to see how price transacts around that area. Okay, so there's your GDX for you. You just want to see how this pattern plays out. Outside and up right now, does it keep climbing up, or do you get that reversal and potentially come back down through the range? Let's talk about digital gold. So you know that I've been short Bitcoin as well as a bunch of other cryptos for some time now. Talked about it in last week's video and prior videos. Not gonna rehash the trades again. But this week was basically a pullback week. Pull back up, that is. So just to do the big condition here, inside quarter and down, it's still trading below this prior quarter's breakout. So the prior quarter's low is 77.33 as marked on the chart, that red line. Price has tried to break back up and has retested that breakout area now, right? So we now know that 77.33 is a breakdown. Okay, so prior, last week we did break below that once again. This is like the second time it's broken below there now. This past week it retested it. So on the weekly chart, it looks like this. We did get a lower low going into the beginning of the week and created a new low, but it did pop back up again. But you can see this is not a reversal bar. It's not a reversal bar because it has not taken out any highs, right? So this is just a bar that actually broke lower and then happened to turn green. That's not a reversal bar. This is more of a reversal bar than that bar because it did take out one side of the range. This is even a better sequence where it goes up inside than this outside bar. If you recall, at the when the Chinese news came out, that caused a bunch of short covering. It does not look like that now. It's a completely different scenario playing out here. So this past week, we had a really nice setup if you were on the long side. If you were kind of short-term and fast and agile, then this was a great trade. And one guy, my good buddy Lev, in my trading chat room, he caught this trade and wrote it very well. Traded it very well. So on a lower time frame, he used the 8 hour to get into the trade. But in the higher time frame, this is what you need to look at: outside, inside, to begin the week, right? So you can use the lower time frame to get into the trade, and that's what he did. But you notice that this is the scenario: an outside bar stops out a bunch of people, comes back up to the range, and even better than that, you look at the 2-day chart. It's very apparent what happened. If you recall, I talked about on the VIX chart the importance of outside bars. This is what happens every single time when these outside bars happen. That that emotional reaction that happens is very, very plays out all the time. So inside, outside, and up now. Now you're just riding this thing up. It did go as high as 79.33, but has not pulled back, right? So on that 2-day chart, there's that 77.33 area, which is the prior quarter's breakdown level, the low. It cannot climb above there. So it's simply, again, a test of that breakout level. If this low gets taken out, we'll come back down again. And then if you're short-term long, then it becomes dangerous to be in that trade. But for now, so long as the trend remains up, that's a good trade to the upside, although against major time frames. But it's the momentum you get right now. It's momentum on the 2-day chart and on that daily chart. So very nice trade for folks who took that intermediate term chart, or that short-term trade chart, short-term trade to the upside on BTC. Myself, I'm staying short. So I did cover a lot when we did get that lower low. So I covered a lot of my shorts on cryptos, but looking to resell again on a break back down. So I'd be interested, and actually I shorted a couple of new names today on a Saturday, although that's not a great trade because I don't like taking trades before the new week. But just wanted to take small positions in case they begin to work out. Ideally, you wait for the start of the week because that's when you get a lot more information that will change the time frame alignment on a lot of these time frames. But that's the picture on BTC. Again, if you break below this low here on the daily chart, so going into Sunday, if this low gets taken down, you have to watch out that it doesn't come back through the range here again and retest this outside bar, which would then again, your weekly opens right there. You only have 1 day left in the week, so on Monday, wherever price opens up at, that will be an area you do want to watch as well, like I said, with the rest of the other products. ETH did short this one again, added to my short because it did go inside bar, reversal to the downside on the daily. Okay, so there's that red line. That red line here is that quarterly breakout I referenced in the BTC trade. Same thing here. This inside bar on the quarterly chart, that low there is 152.92. So you can see here what happened. Same sequence. It's popped back up. It broke down below it. It popped back up, and right now having a hard time staying above that 152.92 area. So now we did that inside bar reversal and potentially looking for it to come back through the range again. Okay, so starting positions in that trade, we'll see how those play out. Again, not high conviction because we have the new week coming out. A little riskier because things do reset at the beginning of the week and at the beginning of the month. But I wanted to get a small starter in there just to see what happens. Okay, so now let's wrap things up by doing a few rapid fire stocks and instruments. See what we can expect for the coming week and month. So on the weekly chart, let's take a look at a few interesting ones. Here, CLH. Okay, interesting one. Outside, inside. Where does it break, to the upside or the downside? Why that's significant is because on the 1 month chart here, okay, it's outside and up on the monthly. Now the month is closed out. Let's draw that line in here. There's your orange line. Okay, if all of a sudden this thing goes inside, weak, and down, that's going to put this pivot in play and trigger the monthly chart to the downside on CLH. So watch out, CLH, if it breaks below this week's lows. That's one that's definitely on my radar. Google, also an outside inside, excuse me, on the weekly chart, sitting right at that broadening formation high. So this is a kind of a make or break place now for Google because it really needs to honor that. Because if it goes outside, inside, and down, we're coming back through the range here. If it goes outside, inside, and up, you can keep riding this thing higher. So that's something to be watchful of because you're sitting right on that broadening formation high. You can see that. That's on the weekly chart. Okay, so fairly significant. Outside and up on the Google chart, on the monthly chart. So lots of momentum still. for the Google trade. You just need to balance that out now with the weekly trade. Looking for that low. Does that get violated or not? CGC, marijuana names. Boy, these are ugly names. And you still got an outside inside happening on CGC. You expect this thing to resolve the downside because, you know, why would the trend stop? Right? Why would it end? No reason to say it's the bottom yet. So let's see which way that thing breaks. And quote, interesting trade on quote, QUOT, quotient technology, inside, outside, inside. So we got lots of consolidation followed by expansion, then consolidation again. Looking to see how that breaks out of that pattern. Similarly, you got Zine really consolidating. I think this is another week that I brought it up here now because it's getting really tight here. So now this is our third consecutive inside week in a row. So you're definitely waiting to see how this thing resolves because you can't stay inside forever, right? Unless the company goes out of, you know, just doesn't do anything for the rest of its existence. It'll just remain that way. But something tells me we're going to get an explosive move out of that sequence. Watch for that. And one last one on the weekly list, that is DDS, Dillard's. So retail, how's retail looking going into, you know, the holidays? So, you know, Dillard's threw up a big shooting star here on the month of November, had some really good gains earlier in the month, came all the way back in, and now look what that looks like. So here, I'm just going to draw on the monthly low here. Here's your monthly low. Weekly chart now. Okay, outside, inside, inside, right? So 2 consecutive inside weeks. Now you got to watch out and see, where does that low, well, where's that inside bar? How's it inside bar resolve? To the upside or to the downside, right? So if it breaks to the downsides, you know, ideally I prefer to break the downside because then you'd have more time from alignment. It's going to put that pivot in play, then immediately after that pivot it's going to go after that pivot there, and then that puts the monthly pivot we already talked about in play here, possibly coming back through the range again for Dillard's. See how that plays out. On the monthly chart, let's talk about something even more macro because now the month of November's closed out. Let's see a few interesting names and see how they play out. Don't forget, we got workday with earnings coming out on Tuesday, I believe we said. So there's the outside inside. You know, there's consolidation before earnings. Let's see which way it breaks. Will be significant because that will definitely take out, not definitely, but you know, being a higher beta name like this, there's a good chance that this inside month breaks is going to take out that pivot from the October. One of the other side of these, you know, one side of this bar will get taken out, or both if it gets very aggressive, but at least one side of this bar will probably get taken out this month. TXN, same sort of deal here. Outside month and down. If it pops back up here, it gets interesting. It's going to come back up again for TXN. SFIX, interesting name. Outside inside, been pretty beat up this year. Had a really high flying year back in 2018. This year, that's a lot of chop, right? It goes inside, outside, inside to end the month of November. How's it resolve? To the upside or to the downside? And finally, actually two more names on the monthly chart. Got Yeti, another a software type company. So here, outside, inside on the monthly chart, and how's that resolve? What direction does it go? Actually, more significant, it's actually inside, outside, inside. And you know, I like that pattern a lot because that means a lot of people getting chopped up here. A lot of people getting chopped up because you get that outside bar, especially if it goes inside bar down, because you know once you sold that, immediately get flushed out. Then it frustrates everyone by going inside for another month. Now people are waiting to move, right? And people are going to get aggressive when this thing breaks. And one final one, Ring Central, RNG. Okay, going boom right in the highs. Look at that chart, right? So that is a pretty nice looking chart. Outside, inside to end the month of November. Pretty big range, not a huge range, but enough where you gotta wonder, how does it break this range once again? Does it go inside bar up, inside bar and down? Okay, so watch for that for RNG. So to wrap things up now, I'm just gonna do my top and bottom list of stocks ranked by Sharpe ratio or modified Sharpe ratio, just to show you the nicest trending stocks based upon their modified Sharpe ratios. So on the bullish side, you've got something like ICPT. That's the best performing stock on my radar list based upon the modified Sharpe. Look at that run, right, from the lows here in October. Exceptional run for ICPT. That's a good 2-month run. We talked about this one last week. Okay, Fortinet, just grinding higher, just grinding higher. If you're shorting that, you're getting you're getting chopped up to the upside. Amgen still going. This is also still excuse me, still on the list from last week's top 5 list. This thing continues to be an outperformer. Amgen, I think again we said to all-time highs. All right, look at the monthly chart on Amgen. Wow, right? What can you say about Amgen going higher? Okay, and IBB, right? So biotech this week. It went bonkers. Some of these smaller biotech names really caught fire. So maybe we're in a late stage rally now where people are getting very speculative and jumping into biotech names, and that's what you saw with IBB. This index really has taken off since the month of October. All right, so again, really nice run there. And let's do 2 more. XLF, so financials doing pretty well as well. So you know, if the people are still going, you know, they're buying the financial names. And if there's a pinch of financials, you're not seeing it yet on those banking names. And one final one, the SPY has also had an exceptional run. As you said right in the beginning of this video, what a move the SPY has had over the past 36 sessions. And that puts it near at the top of my top performing stocks based upon modified Sharpe ratio. Bottom 5, what can you say? The mirror opposite, VIX. This is the worst performer. Can you say, yeah, melting? Yeah, it is melting. This will reverse split, as I keep saying. It's going to reverse split sooner than later, unless it's some sort of VIX explosion. Intelsat. Is this the same one? Intelsat. I think we have a different. No, I have a different quote here. So, anyways, let's not talk about this one. Let's move on. Here, Turtle Beach. Ouch! Right, Turtle Beach is to the lows, having a tough time at these yearly lows. Okay, so Turtle Beach having a really rough time. Overstock, that's another high flyer that had a crypto exposure, going into yearly lows. So now the CEO's gone. What happens to this company? Because it is in the dirt. All right, so this thing is hitting yearly lows, multi-year lows. Okay, multi-year lows here. So yeah, really awful stuff coming from OSTK. And let's do 2 more, both related to the same industry. PIX, so that's a marijuana name, right in the lows, getting close to those lows, just again melting. And NBEV, another marijuana related name. Just the trend is down. What can you say about that, right? Even though you have huge spikes, that day there we had a 12% spike, that did not change the trend of NBEV. So yeah, that name's a name that continues to be sold at any occasion. All right, that's a wrap for this week's video. As always, I want to thank you for spending time with me this weekend, or whenever you watch this video. As always, if you like the videos, please give us a big thumbs up so other people can help us. Other people can find our videos. If you really like the videos, hit subscribe so you get the notifications as soon as they're published. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section, either on YouTube or ideally on our blog sites. We get it right away. And if you do like the work, please, as always, share it with any friends and colleagues so that we can continue to grow our community. All right. I hope you have a great trading week, a good first trading week of December, and happy trading.